Hey guys, coming to you from Land the Plane Fridays of the Best Ball Playbook by Rick Aduzel. So we're going to talk about the NFL schedule release. We're not going to talk about what everyone else has talked about. We're going to talk about specific aspects of the schedule release that you can kind of quantify and control. One of those is going to be week 1 through 4. Another is going to be ADP impacts and kind of how I'm looking at going drafting into this weekend with this news. So recently, I've been on a couple streams, so I just want to do a couple housekeeping notes. Nick Hedgeland's stream on the NFL schedule release last night. Me, him, and Trev. Pretty funny. We came up with some cool mnemonics. You'll catch me singing a little bit on there. Go check that out. Tonight, FanSpeak 24-hour stream to celebrate their 1,000 subs. I will be on Best Ball Jeopardy with PPR Tyler. He's pretty good at the game. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be in a little bit of trouble unless I study. So check that out. That'll be fun. We'll be talking about it so you can tout beef. We'll be taking shots. All in good fun, though. Remember, fantasy football should be fun. So let's keep it fun. All right, let's take a look at the schedule. So right now, everyone's talking about week 17, week 15, week 16. That's 7 months away, guys. There's an El Nino weather pattern between then. We can't tell weather. We don't know how good teams are going to be. Defenses could fall apart. Offensive quarterbacks could get hurt. We have no idea what these teams are going to look like in week 17. But we do have a better idea of what they're going to look like in weeks 1 through 4. And specifically, we want to look at what a team looks like this season, after the draft, after trades, after free agency, right? We don't just want to take their record from last year. I mean, for example, last year, Vegas, projected who the Bengals for, actually, that's not really a good example. The Patriots for 6.5 wins. They won the Super Bowl. Seahawks for like 8 wins. They went to the Super Bowl. Seahawks won the Super Bowl. So win totals are high variance, but they're definitely a better indicator of what a team will look like in the coming year than last season's record. But win totals on the whole, as a set, are pretty accurate because if they weren't, Vegas would lose a lot of money on win totals. So I'd like to use win totals, and that's exactly what Sharp Football Analysis does. So taking a look at some of the strength of schedule by Vegas win totals, we really want to look at the top ends and the bottom ends to get kind of a read. The Chiefs have a really easy schedule. I mean, it separates from the pack at 1 overall. And if we look at their weekly schedule for the Chiefs, we can see that they play the Broncos at home, then they play the Colts at home, then they go to the Dolphins and the Raiders. That looks like a good game script for Kenneth Walker, especially as Patrick Mahomes recovers from that knee injury. Now we go to the Broncos. Woof. Chiefs, Jags, Chargers, 49ers. So going back to weeks 1 through 4, what are we going to take away from this? Well, they're playing easy opponents and they're projected to win in those games. It's a good chance we see a lot of Kenneth Walker. They signed him, they paid him a lot of money. They should run him. Similarly, Broncos are going to be in these tough game scripts. They might not be able to run the ball very effectively. Sean Payton's already shown a tendency to ditch the pass and go very high pass rate over expectation. I think the Broncos are one of the pass heaviest offenses in the league last year. So we could see Jonah Coleman start to get some run pretty early on, especially if we continue to hear this positive drumbeat about him. So when it comes to the teams kind of in the middle, you can't really take away much, but you can essentially assume that teams with an easier strength of schedule, their running game, their defense should benefit. And teams with a harder strength of schedule, their running game might suffer because running game is the most sensitive to game script. You can also think that maybe these teams pass a little bit more, but you don't want to take away huge takeaways from strength of schedule. You just kind of want to look and glean what you can, right? Similarly, with the playoff schedule matrix, with week 15, 16, 17, I mean, everyone's talking about New Orleans. They're at Tampa Bay in that nice weather versus Arizona in their dome, at Atlanta in their dome, right? What if Shuck actually sucks, though? What if Carson Beck's starting? What if Baker gets injured again or he loses all his weapons because Chris Godwin's dust and Emeka Egbuka can't carry the offense? And then what if Atlanta's defense is good this year? Or maybe Penix tears another ACL and Tua is just, Tua. Those offenses could not be that good. So when it really comes to these week 15, 17, 16, 17 matchups, I don't want to put too much faith into the teams you need, right? I mean, the Titans Saints was the shootout that you kind of needed last year to win with Chris Olave. Derrick Henry went for a 50 burger against the Packers in Lambeau when it was freezing cold. So we don't know who will win. But when you're kind of in between two picks, sometimes at the end of drafts or where projections are really flat in the middle rounds, people will tend to go with the correlation for week 17 primarily. But now there's a little bit more focus on week 15 and 16. I'll talk about that as we get closer to the season. But one thing I did want to talk about today, based on that information, is okay, the schedule's out. Everyone's excited. You're going to the draft this weekend, and they're like, okay, I want to correlate my teams. Well, naturally, what are people going to do? They're going to pull players up spots that have good matchups, right? So let's take a look at the rankings. If you do start out running back, look at your third round wide receivers, starting with T. Higgins. Cincinnati plays Baltimore. New York Jets. I mean, they play the Vikings, who don't have a great defense, but let's just avoid the Jets. Zay Flowers. They play Cincy. This T. Higgins, Zay Flowers double click at 36-37 might be quite popular. You could see Zay move up on that news. Devonta Smith. Well, that's more of an A.J. Brown trade. Chris Olave. He's at this weird middle of the third round, but now everybody loves the Saints offense. I mean, you might see him get pulled up to pair with Drake London here. If Drake London goes at 20, you could see Chris Olave scoot up to 28. So I think that's the kind of ADP movement you're going to see as people probably overpay for correlation going into the weekend after the schedule release. So really, where you make the most powerful stacks is you get a falling Chris Olave, right? Chris Olave falls to the middle of the fourth round for whatever reason, and you already have Drake London. So then instead of maybe Tedero McMillan falls too, or T. Higgins falls as well, it's a really running back heavy draft. So instead of picking one of those guys or even Devonta Smith, you choose Chris Olave. Their projections are quite similar. Devonta's is going to move up once A.J. Browns gets traded. But you look at these projection numbers. If they're similar here, I mean, this is a 4-point difference, right? Like this is a 3-point difference. If they're similar, pick the guy that correlates, especially if they're similar in your rankings, right? But don't reach on them because even in the 30s, a 3-spot reach, a 4-spot reach, that's a lot more costly than you think. And if you're wrong, and if Chris Olave moves, you reach on him and he doesn't move up and he actually moves down, that could be really costly in terms of draft capital at the end of the summer. So I would expect some of these third round receivers to move up as they have some nice spots going into the schedule release information drop. So when you go into your drafts today, think about your week 15, 16, 17 correlation. Think about how guys are going to move up. But most importantly, we just got the schedule. Let's think about what we can control. And that's the first 4 weeks. You want a fast starting running back? You think Kenneth Walker is going to be a good running back? He's probably going to do his best work in the first 4 weeks. Maybe in the first 6 weeks. Ooh, no, lines pop up there. But you know what I'm saying. Play with the tool, use it to design your teams, and make sure you have your player archetypes weighted correctly from back to front and from front to back.